Hi, it's Jasio here again, and today I'm going to show you a cool experiment that finally finds a use for all those pesky receipts you may have laying around the house. This is an experiment I like to call hot stamps, and I'm going to show you how you can use heat to draw on receipts. And here's an example of some of my failed attempts, and we'll get to more of that in a bit. This one requires using heat, so this one is maybe not safe to do at home or without adult supervision. So basically these receipt papers have a thermally activated ink inside of them, and I'm going to activate that ink with two different ways. So here is just a piece of wire. It's a metal wire, nothing too fancy about it. I'm going to heat it up. I'm going to use a match because that's what I have readily available. So I'm going to heat up the tip a little bit and then check out what happens when I pass it over. See these little lines? And then if I were to do it again, now it's kind of cooling down, now it's not writing anymore. See? The next thing we're going to do is, instead of just drawing with the wire, I'm going to try to make a stamp. I'm going to use the imprint of this normal dime and try to stamp that face onto the paper. So I'm going to heat up this dime, and then I'm going to press it onto the paper so that you can see it starting to form. So for this one, similarly, I'm going to heat up the dime. I'm going to hold the dime with some tweezers since it does get hot. And then I'm going to put it down and try to stamp it. Okay. Start by heating up the dime, keeping my fingers far from the flame. Put it down. It might take a couple of tries. I haven't quite nailed it down yet. I'm going to try to press it in. I'm going to do a couple of them while it's still warm. Now the coin is cooled down so that I can press on it with my finger. I'm going to do a couple. Really hold this one in. And we'll see how those turned out. Great. You can see pretty well actually. This one's really dark because it was really hot. But you can see all the other imprints of the dime. So when I hold the dime next to it, it's mirrored because I flipped it on. You can see the face and some of the lettering, just like a stamp. But instead of using a stamp stencil covered in ink, we used heat instead. So here's another close-up so you can see it a bit better. And here's the coin I used for reference. And also, it looks black right now, it washes right off. So you'll have a shiny coin like you did from the start. So what makes this receipt paper special is that unlike traditional printers, we're not using the printer head to apply ink to the paper. With receipts, the ink is already embedded in the paper itself. That's why receipt machines at, let's say a grocery store or a restaurant never run out of ink, because they don't use any ink. The ink's already in the paper. So this is a type of thermal paper. This paper has a dye. It's called a leuco dye, and it's mixed with this matrix called bisphenol A or bisphenol B. It's just this type of acidic compound in it. And when you heat it up, you melt that bisphenol. It becomes liquid. It's an acid, and it reacts with the leuco dye, and it creates a chemical reaction that changes the color from clear, which is what originally was, to a dark black. That's why this chemical reaction is not permanent. Eventually all these receipts will fade and they'll go back to their colorless state.